Well, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to today's video where I talk about what I plan to read in August and also try to follow my own advice. Maybe, kinda. We're gonna at least try, okay? It's a novel concept, I know, but if you saw my most recent video, then you saw my tips and tricks for combating a reading slump, which is definitely what I've been experiencing myself for the last little bit. So I figured I would practice what I preach and try to use some of those tips for my August TBR. So we have some shorter books on this list, we have some faster paced books on this list, we have some audiobooks on this list, we even have one of my favorite books of all time. Like, we're trying. We're really putting in an effort here and seeing how it goes for me. Unfortunately, I can't follow all of my advice because I do have a couple of commitments that I don't want to give up, like my 2 book club books, and also it's Women in Translation Month, so I do want to participate in that. It's one of my favorite initiatives of the year. So we do have a few things that I'm just gonna do because I want to, but why don't we dive right in? So why don't we start off with the books that I plan to read for the 2 book clubs. For the Workbook Club, our July-August pick was A Burning by Megha Majumdar, which is a book that has piqued my interest for a long time. It has a really vivid and striking cover, and I've heard really good things about it. It was actually recommended to my Workbook Club by another coworker of ours, and I've heard it described as like a political thriller. The main character is a Muslim girl living in India, and I believe she is accused of having perpetrated a terrorist attack. And so this book is all about all of the fallout from that. And I believe that the book has been listed on a number of notable lists. I believe it's won a couple of awards. So I'm very intrigued by this and very much looking forward to it. The next book is for the Founded Translation Book Club, which is the book club that Noelle, Annie, and I run here on BookTube. Our August pick is Violets by Kyung-Suk Shin, which is translated from Korean and makes it the perfect pick for Women in Translation Month. So I'm very excited about this. It's a book that's been described as exploring misogyny, erasure, and repressed desire. And it just sounds like it's going to be my cup of tea. It's set in South Korea in the 1990s, and it's about the sort of the standards with which I believe women are kind of expected to live up to. And in that way, it reminds me, at least based on those very general descriptions, of Breasts and Eggs by Miyako Kawakami, which we also read for the Founded Translation Book Club. Wow, I can't talk today. But that one was focused on Japanese culture and sort of beauty and reproductive standards for females. I believe this is similar vein, different country potentially. Also, the description makes me think that it is going to be pretty raw and brutal because it does talk about violence and isolation. So this does feel like a book that's potentially going to be a little bit darker than that. I will be interested to see if my theory on these 2 books being similar but about different cultures kind of ends up being true, but it is also published by the feminist press, so I'm assuming there's quite a feminist lean to this book as well. This book club discussion, the live show, will be on my channel the first Tuesday in September, I believe. I'll put all of that information in the description box for you if you're interested, as well as the Discord channel where we'll be discussing the book as we're reading it. So I hope you join us. Moving on to the other books that I don't actually physically own are my 2 audiobooks that also happen to both be romances. So the first one is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus, which is a book that I mentioned in that reading slump video, I believe, where I had 2 friends who read it recently, who don't know each other, who then both reached out and recommended it to me and were like, you need to read this book. It was delightful, get a copy of it. I have been on the hold list for this book. I kid you not, 3 months. And the book is finally showing up as available soon. So I think I'll get it in early August, and I'm very, very excited. As I mentioned, it is a romance. It's set, I believe, in the 1960s, and the female protagonist or female heroine, whatever you would like to call her, is a scientist who is dealing with misogyny and also inequality in the workplace. She's STEM, and in the 1960s, women in STEM were few and far in between. They also weren't treated the same way. In any case, she ends up being a star, a kind of reality TV celebrity, because she's on this cooking show, and the male protagonist, the love interest, is another scientist who I believe worked with her and comes back into her life some years later. And I'm just really, honestly, very excited about it because both Katie and my friend Liz have hyped this book up so much to me. It really does sound delightful, but also I am not someone to watch reality TV at all. But give me a cooking show, I am there. I don't even like cooking, I'm much more of a baker, but give me a cooking show like Master Chef, Iron Chef, give me a documentary Chef's Table, was it that one? Anything like that, I'm so into it. So this seems like a book that's going to be right up my alley, to be quite honest. Then the other book that I've been on hold for is Only When It's Us by Chloe Leese, or Chloe Lisi, which was another book that was recommended to me actually by Christine from over at the Roomies Digest when I was asking for some romance recommendations. This is a romance series, and I think each one has to do with a different sport. There's some sporting element involved. This one, based on the cover, makes me think that it has to do with soccer or football, depending on where you live in the world. But it sounds so fun. And it does seem like it is an enemies to lovers type romance where I'm all here for. But there was literally this phrase in the description of the book that was lumbersexual Neanderthal, and I snickered. I kid you not. That was just so perfect and so iconic. And if that's the sort of humor that's in this book, I feel like I'm going to have such a fun time. So those are the two books that I've chosen because I think they're going to be more fast-paced and easy to kind of immerse myself in, plus they are audiobooks, so I can listen to them while I'm doing other things around the house. But now we're getting into the books that I actually own, and I have two books here that are for women in translation, the first of which is Eventide by Therese Bowman, which is translated from Swedish. This has showed up on a couple TBRs on my channel already. It's about an art history professor in Stockholm, and I believe she starts to have feelings for a postgraduate student, and the book is supposed to explore the standards to which women are held within relationships and in their careers. So it sounds like it's going to be interesting, also pretty feminist, and I'm just really intrigued by it. It's also a very short book. It's not even 200 pages, so this was me following my own advice and trying to stick with shorter books this time around. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, and I've owned it for a little while, so it's definitely time to get it off my physical TBR. Next, we have another translated work, which is called Voices in the Evening by Natalia Ginsburg, and this is translated from Italian, I believe. Am I wrong? Yes, I am right. It is translated from Italian. It is set in a small village or town in Italy after World War II, and it's about the neighbors and the families living there, kind of in this post-fascist and post-Mussolini world. And it has some recognizable names, Zadie Smith is on the back of this, Rachel Cusk, Colum Tobin wrote like the foreword to this book, so it has a lot of like heavy weights attached to it, and I'm just really, really intrigued. You all know I love reading literature about either of the world wars, and particularly recently about the interwar years and kind of the outcome and fallout of those wars. So this seems like it's going to be really interesting, and again, it is a short book that is not even 150 pages long. So yet again, following my own advice with this one, but I have very, very high hopes for it, for sure. Now we have one of my favorite books of all time, The English Patient by Michael Ondaatje. I love this book. This is a book that makes me happy to be a reader. It delights me and hits me in the feels. I love the book. I love the movie. But I know it's a Marmite book. Not everyone who reads this book enjoys it as much as I do. But I thought it would be nice to revisit it. It's been a couple of years since the last time I read it, and I would love to read it and then watch the movie again. But this is a book that is set during the end of World War II. This unidentified man is on his deathbed. He's suffered severe burns from an accident, and he doesn't, like, no one knows who he is, and he's being treated by this nurse who is just exhausted by death. And, like, it's him remembering, like, what was going on in his life before the accident, including this just, like, incredibly, like, powerful affair and clandestine relationship that he was having. And I love it. There's an extraordinary cast of characters, with a thief, Caravaggio, and also an Indian sapper, and it's just a beautiful piece of literature, and I just am obsessed. So I am very much hoping that I will get around to rereading this in August, because it does just make my heart sing. Like, I love this book so much, and if you want to hear more about it, I'll link like one of my favorite books of all time videos, because I will have gone into incredible detail, I'm sure, about this book there. And then the last book that I'm picking up was actually a book that I think was on my May TBR, and I never got around to it. It's The Pursuit of Love by Nancy Mitford, which I just love this cover. It's just stunning. But this is a book that, again, I selected because it is short. But I also think that it's going to be pretty fast-paced, because the book seems to be about these two sisters and their like cousin or friend who are just like obsessed with marriage and sex and trying to find like the perfect lover. And so it just feels like it's going to be filled with sort of like very clever like hijinks between these three young women, who I'm assuming know nothing about marriage or sex, despite being obsessed with it. And this would be my first Nancy Mitford book as well, but I think it'll be a lot of fun. But that's what I'm going for. I'm trying to pick books that I think are going to just be really fun for me to read, and kind of just delightful. So that's why I picked this one as well. And as I said, it was on my May TBR. May was not a great reading month, nor was June. July was iffy. I think I will have finished 5 books by the end of it, but we're gonna finally get to this book, I promise. But anyway, guys, those are the 8 books, I want to say, that I am attempting to read in August. It is a tall order for someone who is like in a reading slump, but there are a lot of lighthearted books here. There are a lot of shorter books here. There are audiobooks, so I do feel like it's doable, but we will see. We will see how taking my own advice works for me this time around. We will see what progress I make by the end of the month. We'll all just hang tight, right? But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe, because all those things mean the world to me and they help this little channel grow. And also in the comments, just make sure to leave a message about what you plan to read in August, because I'm always looking for recommendations. But thank you so much for watching, you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye!